Today, we're mixing the beautiful Deep Sea Green by Schmincke. This is one of the colors from Schmincke's Super Granulating line. Swatching out the original. Now, let's see how we mix this. Today's mix is super easy. We start with PG18, which is actually Veridian. PG18, I'm using my paints by Daniel Smith. PG18 looks like this. I just added water to that just so that you'll be able to see that yes, in fact, Daniel Smith's PG18 has some beautiful granulation. So there's our PG18, which isn't quite as bold and bright like grass green looking as I'm seeing on my monitor. Hopefully you guys are seeing that more like leaning towards like the teals and turquoise in this color. And with that, we mix good old PB29 Ultramarine. And I am using French Ultramarine by Daniel Smith, which definitely granulates beautifully. Now, when we mix these two, we definitely want it to look a little more green than blue. Cleaning up a spot on my palette, bring this in here. Okay, so we start with our PG18, our Veridian. And to that, we add our ultramarine blue. Like I said, we definitely want it to lean more green than blue. Just grabbed a touch more of the Veridian. Okay. Now let me slide that back out of the way. I'm going to come over here and I'm going to wet my card first, just like I did for this time. This was wet before I started, because I want those colors to be able to really move around and separate and do their thing. So remember, when we have a wet wash, it kind of lets all that pigment float around on the surface of our watercolor paper. And these super granulating, or they're not super granulating, these granulating pigments will be able to kind of separate and do their own thing. And Schmincke calls them super granulating because they are using two pigments that granulate. Okay, so now to see the magic in this and to see if we have this right, we have to wait. We have to wait for that to kind of dry, separate, and do its thing. So I'm going to let the camera roll. Let's see if we can't zoom you in, get that camera to stop shaking. They make it worse. And I'm just going to let the camera roll, and I will speed it up so that you can see the dry time and how these kind of separate and this granulation comes into play. And we'll decide, did we get it right? I think we did. This is a super easy one. I really encourage you to try this. This is going to be beautiful in some seascapes. So I have the video sped up now, and what we're starting to see is the blue of the ultramarine is kind of popping up on top, and that green is settling in. This is sped up about 4,000%. And I'm just waiting for this to dry, and it's looking like it's almost dry. Not completely, but almost. So there you go. This little corner is not completely dry, but pretty much it's done moving and shifting. And I think we did a pretty good job at matching Deep Sea Green from the Schmincke Super Granulating line. In this mix, again, I used my Daniel Smith watercolors, and I was mixing PG18 Veridian with PB29 French Ultramarine, and I definitely think we did it. Are you going to give this one a try? Are you enjoying these Monday mixes? Do you have a convenience color that you really like that you want to know how to mix? Drop me a comment below and let me know, and we will see if we can mix it. I did have a recent request for one, and I have to acquire one of the pigments because the pigment's important. How this looks, like if you just grabbed a Veridian, if I said you'd mix Veridian and ultramarine blue, and that gives you deep sea green in the Schmincke Super Granulating set, that's not correct because your Veridian might be a PG7. Sometimes they label that Veridian even though it's phthalo blue shade, and you know, the pigment is important. Not only the pigment is important, but you need to look at the hue of the pigment from the manufacturer that you're choosing, because if they differ greatly from Schmincke's version of these colors or these pigments, it might not work out so well. So a lot comes into play when I try to pick the colors, but with Daniel Smith Veridian PG18 and French Ultramarine Blue PB29, we get that wonderful granulation that we see in Schmincke over here in our mix. So I hope you're enjoying these, and I hope you will tune in again next week where we will mix another color. Until next time, my friends, keep mixing, keep creating. I'm going to pop a video up right about here that you might like to watch next, and I'll see you in a video real soon. Bye, guys.